السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Surah Al-Anbiya, verse number 51. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ آتَيْنَا إِبْرَاهِيمَ رُشْدَهُ مِنْ قَبْلِ وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. And we gave Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam rushd. Rushd is either prophethood or guidance as a child. When you're young and you have guidance, this is a intellectual prowess of an individual. Min qablu wa kunna bihi alimin. Before this, and we were alimin, meaning before Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam, or before he was sent as a prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him hidayah, and Allah gave him intellect. وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ عَالِمِينَ أَنَّهُ أَهْلِ الْإِيتَاءِ الرُّشْدِ. We knew that this one was going to be an intelligent one. We knew Ibrahim was going to be different. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam is called Ibrahim because of the conglomeration of two words, Abun Rahim. Abba means father and Rahim means compassionate. So Abun Rahim, the father of compassion. This is also mentioned in the Old Testament as well. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam is the prophet that all three major religions, or Abrahamic religions as they call them, agree upon. So the Yahud also venerate him, the Christians venerate him, and the Muslims obviously venerate him as well. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad kama sallayta ala Ibrahim. So, oh Allah, send durood on Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam the way you sent it on Ibrahim alayhi salam. So now there is a objection on this durood, that out of Ibrahim and Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is more afdal between the two? Who is more afdal? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is greater, or Ibrahim alayhi salam? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? Now if I tell you that, Saad bhai, you know, I come to your house and I have some steak. I tell you, the steak was just like steak at, some halal steakhouse, prominent Muslim halal steakhouse. So which of these steaks is better? The one that you made, or the one that, if I say, it's like? The original place is better, right? So, or if I look at your car and I say, this looks like, or make your car like a Ferrari. That means the Ferrari is more afdal. Am I right? Okay. So, or if I say that, your face is bright like the sun. Sun is more afdal. All right? So when we say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad kama sallayta ala Ibrahim, would that not mean that Ibrahim alayhi salam was better? Kama sallayta ala Ibrahim it's not comparison here, but it's the way you have sent it on Ibrahim alayhi salam before in Madi, in the past, send out Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam now. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallayta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka hamidun majid. Ibrahim alayhi salam is buried in a town called Al-Khalil in Palestine. It's part of the West Bank, and it is in the Yahud call it Hebron. Ibrahim alayhi salam is buried right next to his wife Sarah alayhi salam. And right in front of them is the grave of Yusuf alayhi salam. And then, so it's a masjid. Back of the masjid has Ibrahim alayhi salam, Sarah. The middle area has Yusuf alayhi salam. And then it has Ishaq alayhi salam and Rufqa. This is the setup of it. Now, in 96 there was a shooting in the masjid where some Israeli fanatic, Australian fanatic came, and he shot up people in Ramadan and made so many people shaheed, and then killed himself in the corner. After he did that, the Israelis, they installed cameras all over, they sectioned the area off, and they took over half the masjid. the area where Ibrahim a.s. and Sarah a.s. and Yusuf a.s. are buried. They have those 3 areas. And every day on the 27th of Ramadan, they open it up for the Muslims to go completely inside. So Muslims can see a part of Ibrahim a.s. and Sarah's grave, but the other half and the major part of it is with the Yahud, because they venerate them. إذ قال لأبيه وقومه ما هذه التماثيل التي أنتم لها عاكفون. So he turns to his people and he says, ما هذه التماثيل, what are these images or what are these idols that you guys are worshipping, you're devoting yourself, عاكفون, like i'tikaf, that you're devoting yourself to. I'tikaf is called i'tikaf, is you seclude yourself and you devote yourself to Allah. قالوا وجدنا آباءنا لها عابدين. We found our forefathers worshipping it. قال لقد كنتم أنتم وآباؤكم في ضلال مبين. And he said, you and your forefathers are in clear misguidance. You're all wrong. Just because your parents do something, it doesn't make it right. قال لقد كنتم أنتم وآباؤكم في ضلال مبين. You see, the Quran impresses upon following the parents and listening to the parents and respecting them, but not every intellectual decision of theirs is accurate. لَقَدْ كُنْتُمْ أَنْتُمْ وَآبَاؤُكُمْ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. Over here you see clearly that some of the religious perspectives that they had of worshipping these idols and doing these type of cultural things was ضلال, according to Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. قالوا وجئتنا بالحق أم أنت من اللاعبين. So they turned to him and they said, are you bringing the truth or are you just messing around with us, trolling us? لاعبين, from لعب يلعب, to play. Are you trolling us? قال بل ربكم رب السماوات والأرض الذي فطرهن وأنا على ذلكم من الشاهدين. He said, no, your Allah is the Lord of the heavens and the earth. فطرهن, He created it. And I'm a witness to that. Now he's never seen it, but he's still giving a witness towards it. Now, Ibrahim a.s. wants to draw their mind towards something. That you have an idol, you created the idol with your hand. So you are the khaliq of that idol. And the Allah I'm calling upon is the one who created the resources around you. The stones, the ground, the earth, everything around you from which you built this idol with. And that's why he's saying, Rabbus samawat wal ard. You call this idol your God. But the elements you use to make it, where did they come from? Rabbus samawat wal ard. Alladhi fatarahun. The one who created all of this. وَأَنَا عَلَى ذَلِكَ مِنَ الشَّاهِدِينَ. I bear witness. وَتَاللَّهِ لَأَكِيدَنَّ أَصْنَامَكُمْ بَعْدَ أَن تُوَلُّوا مُدْبِرِينَ. Now he's thinking, okay, once you turn away, I'm going to do something to your gods. And I'm going to teach you guys a lesson. فَجَعَلَهُمْ جُذَاذًا إِلَّا كَبِيرًا لَعَلَّهُمْ إِلَيْهِ يَرْجِعُونَ. So what he does is that he turns them all into smithereen and breaks them all up. And then he comes and he says, besides the biggest one he left and he put the axe in the biggest one's neck. The Haqq says that he took one limb from each of the idols. So if the idol has 2 arms, he broke 1 arm off. 2 legs, he broke 1 leg off. And he would leave 1 arm and 1 leg. So he would make them all look like as if they were crippled. They come back and they say, مَنْ فَعَلَ هَذَا بِآلِهَتِنَا إِنَّهُ لَمِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. They said, who did this to our gods? This person is an oppressor. This person has oppressed our gods. قَالُوا سَمِعْنَا فَتًى يَذْكُرُهُمْ يُقَالُ لَهُ إِبْرَاهِيم. They said, we heard a boy. He had these idols' names in his mouth. His name was Ibrahim alayhi salam. قَالُوا فَأْتُوا بِهِ عَلَىٰ أَعْيُنِ النَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَشْهَدُونَ. He said, bring him here, drag him here. Let us everyone see who this person is. قَالُوا أَأَنْتَ فَعَلْتَ هَذَا. Did you do this? بِآلِهَتِنَا يَا إِبْرَاهِيم. Ibrahim, did you do this with our gods? قال بل فعله كبيرهم. No. He said, Kabir, who did it? They say this is one of Ibrahim alayhi salam's, excuse me. They say this is one of Ibrahim alayhi salam's lies. Ibrahim alayhi salam has a total of 3, not lies, but like white lies. Familiar with this hadith? The day of judgment when Ibrahim alayhi salam is asked to intercede, he says that I cannot, for I lied. And it was referring to the 3. The first one is, Inni saqim, I'm sick. When he says to, when they asked him to come to party, he said, Inni saqim. Now this is an actual lie because excuses, right? But inni saqim, sometimes you know how you're sick to your stomach when you see something that's not right? You're also sick there too. So inni saqim, he's sick to his stomach. The second one is this one. Bal fa'alahu kabiruhum. But fa'alahu, did it, kabiruhum, the big one. So this isn't truly a lie, it's because Allah is the big one, or He's bigger than them, as He's a human being. And the third one is with Hajar, when he said that in this land, the king, if he sees a husband and a wife, and the wife is beautiful, he kills the husband so he can take the wife. So if anyone asks who we are, just say we're brothers and sisters. So they were asked, who is she to you? And he says, my sister. Okay, it's not a lie, it's sister in Islam. So all of these have ta'weels to it. They have certain interpretations to it. هذا فاسألوهم إن كانوا ينطقون. Ask them if they are speaking, if they can speak. فرجعوا إلى أنفسهم فقالوا إنكم أنتم ظالمون. They turned towards themselves and they said, you know what? We're wrong. We're oppressors. ثم نكسوا على رؤوسهم لقد علمت ما هؤلاء ينطقون. And they said, they turned towards their heads and they said, you know that these people cannot speak. They bowed their head down and they look down and they say, you know what? You know that these idols are unable to communicate. قال أفتعبدون من دون الله ما لا ينفعكم شيئا ولا يضركم. He says, do you worship something that really doesn't benefit you and doesn't harm you? Meaning that it physically cannot benefit you and physically cannot harm you. Otherwise, benefit and harm is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And it doesn't mean that like the harm that's going to come in the hereafter to them. أُفِّلْ لَكُمْ وَلِمَ تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. He said, destruction be to you. May you be destroyed. أُفِّلْ لَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْبُدُونَ. And whatever you worship, لِمَا تَعْبُدُونَ. Whatever you worship, مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. Besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Do you not have any intellect? Do you not have any brain? قالوا حرقوه وانصروا آلهتكم إن كنتم فاعلين. So they said, go and light up a fire if we're going to do this. Now the person that did this, he was a Persian person. Another opinion is that there was a person by the name of Hazun. And Allah will make him be swallowed into the ground till the day of judgment. And when Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam did this, they started creating this fire. And they made this fire for days and days and days and days. Right? It took a long time to build this fire. Some say 7 days. And the fire was so big that, first of all, the way they made the fire that big, they would do minnat. You know what minnat is? Basically, if my son gets healed I'm donating 10 sticks of wood to the fire that's going to burn Ibrahim alayhi salam. If I make profit in my business, I'm donating 20 sticks of wood. So that's how they were doing it. And this fire was colossal. It was so big that if a bird went above it, the bird would get roasted. It would fall inside. So now how do we put Ibrahim inside here? They were the first people to invent a catapult. So they tied Ibrahim alayhi salam up, put chains around him. They threw Ibrahim alayhi salam, or ropes, and they shot him. Now when they shot him inside, he said, La ilaha illa anta subhanak rabbil alameen. Lakal hamdu wa lakal mulku la sharika lak. There is no God but you. Glory be to the Lord of the universe. Wa lakal hamd, for you is glory, for you is dominion. There is no partner for you. However, the hadith of Bukhari says that Ibrahim alayhi salam said, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakil. That was his statement. Now there's a hadith in Ahmad, Musnad Ahmad, that every creature on earth, or every species of creature on earth, began blowing out the fire, besides the lizard. The lizard was the only one that didn't. But the lizard was the one that was trying to ignite the fire even more. And that's why Rasulullah ﷺ ordered for the killing of a lizard. Now there is one narration that we hear very often, that Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was sitting there, and Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam asked him, he said, Oh Ibrahim, why do you not ask your Allah to protect you, save you? Ibrahim alayhi salam asked, does my Allah know of the scenario that I'm in? And Jibreel alayhi salam said, yes. He said, I'm not going to ask Allah, then if Allah knows and He's pleased with this, then I'm okay with this. Have you heard this before? Good, because it's not true. It's a mawdu' narration. A lot of people mention this narration, that Jibreel alayhi salam came and had this conversation. Ibrahim alayhi salam says, Rabbi a'lamu bi ma'ali, or bi mahali, that Allah is more knowledgeable of what's going on with me. I'm not going to do dua, I'm not going to ask. It goes against the concept of dua. قُلْنَا يَا نَارُ كُونِي بَرَدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ. Allah says, O fire, become baradan, cold. Now the Mufassirin write that if Allah didn't say salaman and comfortable upon Ibrahim, the chains would have been so cold that Ibrahim a.s. would have died of cold inside there. But the fire just burnt only the chains or the ropes around him and didn't touch his skin. وَأَرَادُوا بِهِ كَيْدًا فَجَعَلْنَاهُمُ الْأَخْسَرِينَ. Allah says we had a plan and we made them from the losers. Now remember Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was inside that fire, his clothes got burnt off as well. That is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, أَوَّلُ مَنْ يُكْسَى يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ Ibrahim. That the first person who will be given clothes of Jannah to wear on the Day of Judgment, even before the Prophet ﷺ, is Ibrahim alayhi, because he's the first one to lose his clothes for the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this is called fadilat al-juz'i. There's two types of superiorities. One is a overall superiority, and one is a particular superiority. So Rasulullah ﷺ enjoys overall superiority above all the prophets, but some prophets enjoy particular superiorities that the Prophet ﷺ did not have. For example, Ibrahim a.s. being the first one to wear the clothes of paradise, Sulaiman a.s. controlling the wind, and the jinn, not the gym. Controlling the gym is like controlling the jinn at IACC. जी. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَلُوطًا إِلَى الْأَرْضِ الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. So now, that was also his mi'raj. Every prophet has a mi'raj, an ascension. And Ibrahim a.s.'s ascension took place while he was in that fire and while he was in that scenario. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَلُوطًا إِلَى الْأَرْضِ الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Allah says, and we returned Lut alayhi salam to the land and we saved him. He was the nephew, the son of the brother of Ibrahim alayhi salam, who brought Iman. He says, we returned him to the blessed land for the rest of humanity. This is either talking about Baytul Muqaddas, or Lut alayhi salam came back to Syria after leaving Iraq, or in Makkah. He remained in Makkah al-Mukarramah. Now, why is this place called a blessed land? Either Makkah or Masjid al-Aqsa, why is it called a blessed land? Number one, because Allah sent majority of the prophets there. They say that 70,000 Anbiya have been to Baytul Muqaddas. Or because it's very luscious. This is obviously Syria and Baytul Muqaddas. Makkah has no vegetation. Another opinion is that the water of Masjid al-Aqsa is very unique. And the different waters, they're a byproduct of the water that has come to Masjid al-Aqsa. And this is something that I have actually experienced myself. The water in Masjid al-Aqsa tastes exactly like Zamzam water. As we grew up drinking so much Zamzam water, it has a unique taste to it. It's ajib. That the water of Bayt al-Muqaddas tastes just like Masjid al-Aqsa's water. وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ إِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ نَافِلَةً وَكُلًّا جَعَلْنَا صَالِحِينَ. Allah says we blessed him with Ishaq and Yaqub nafila, an extra blessing. وَكُلًّا جَعَلْنَا صَالِحِينَ. And every one of them, we made them righteous. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ وَإِقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ وَإِيتَاءَ الزَّكَاةِ وَكَانُوا لَنَا عَابِدِينَ. Allah says we made them a nation. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ. We made them a nation who guides with our command. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْهِمْ فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ. And we told them to do فِعْلَ الْخَيْرَاتِ, actions that are good, that are blessings. وَإِقَامَ الصَّلَاةِ, establish prayer, give zakat, and be worshippers to us. وَلُوطًا آتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْقَرْيَةِ الَّتِي كَانَتْ تَعْمَلُ الْخَبَائِثَ إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَوْمَ سَوْءٍ فَاسِقِينَ. Allah says, and we had Lut, we gave him wisdom and knowledge, and we protected him from the town that used to do khaba'ith, filth. إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَوْمَ سَوْءٍ فَاسِقِينَ. They were a nation that did heinous actions, evil actions. وَأَدْخَلْنَاهُ فِي رَحْمَتِنَا إِنَّهُ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. And we entered him into our mercy. He was from the righteous. وَنُوحًا إِذْ نَادَى مِن قَبْلُ فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ فَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ مِنَ الْكَرْبِ الْعَظِيمِ. And Nuh, we called upon him from before. He responded to our calls, and we protected him and his family from the great calamity. وَنَصَرْنَاهُ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَوْمَ سَوْءٍ فَأَغْرَقْنَاهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. And we saved him, وَنَصَرْنَاهُ مِنَ الْقَوْمِ, from the people. We'll leave it over here. And then do the story of Sulaiman and Dawood alayhi salam tomorrow, inshallah. And we'll finish off at Surah Anbiya for Ramadan. Any questions for us today, Saad Bhai? Or only you? Nobody on Facebook? No questions there.
give it the day of. The day of, on the 20th. On the 20th, 27th, whatever is on the 27th, he gives zakat. Okay. Okay. Yeah, whatever your assets are, and your stocks, and your crypto, and all that you calculated. Combine in 2.5% of it. Are there any... No, the way zakat works is that if you have over nisab is about $3,500. On the 27th of Ramadan, on the next year, 27th of Ramadan, whatever you have, you give zakat on. Whatever you have on that day. Because it's impossible for you to track how long you had each money for. Yeah. So it's on the day of how much you have. So the market crashes that day and it's less, you use less zakat. Hopefully not. Are you into altcoins or Doge coins, or what are you into? Stocks more? The main thing is that if you can turn Eid into where you have namaz and Quran done, is after Eid you can do it. Because Eid becomes the moment where you break your tartib. And then the other days it's a domino effect. So it's about making Eid more spiritual and less cultural. And then just always have a schedule. Don't veer from the schedule. Maulana Ayub Azmi, rahmatullah alayhi, had a schedule 10 p.m., he'd go to sleep. Wake up tahajjud time, 3 a.m. No matter who came, what the guest was, who the person was. 10 p.m. he was out like a light bulb. Anyone else on the Facebook ask any questions? No? Inshallah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, assalamu ala al-mursaleen, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. How many people did we have yesterday for Qiyam? How many people did we have? It wasn't like the first night.